The summons from the stars. The alarm blared through the corridors of the Earth Alliance vessel Artemis, pulling Captain Maya Chen from a deep sleep. She was on her feet before her mind fully registered what was happening, muscle memory from years of drills taking over. The soft blue emergency lighting guided her path as she sprinted toward the bridge, her heart hammering against her ribs. "Status report," she demanded, sliding into the command chair. The bridge crew worked with focused intensity, hands flying over holographic interfaces. Lieutenant Raj Patil at communications turned to her. "Captain, we're receiving a signal unlike anything I've ever seen. It's coming through on frequencies we didn't even know existed." "On screen," Chen ordered. The main view screen flickered to life, displaying a cascade of symbols that seemed to shift and change even as they watched. The universal translator struggled, processing algorithms cycling visibly in the corner of the display. "Is it a distress call?" Chen asked, leaning forward. I think so," Paddle replied, his brow furrowed in concentration. "The pattern suggests urgency, repetition. Classic distress signal structure, but the technology is far beyond our own." Chen turned to her XO, Commander Diana Jackson. "Location." Jackson manipulated the star chart. "Approximately 18 light-years from our current position, originating from a star system not on our charts." Chen's decision came without hesitation. "Plot an intercept course. Maximum FTL." "Captain," Science Officer Wei cautioned, "this could be first contact. Shouldn't we notify Earth Command first?" Chen shook her head. "By the time we get approval, whoever sent this signal could be dead. The Artemis was commissioned for deep space exploration and potential first contact. This is exactly why we're out here." She straightened in her chair. "All stations, prepare for extended FTL. If someone's calling for help, humanity answers." None of them could have predicted what awaited them across the stars. The Artemis dropped out of FTL at the edge of an unremarkable yellow star system. Initial scans revealed 4 rocky planets and 3 gas giants, a typical stellar arrangement. What wasn't typical was the massive structure orbiting the third planet. "My God," Wei whispered, "that's a space station. It's enormous." The structure stretched nearly 30 kilometers across, a gleaming wheel of silver and blue against the blackness of space. Around it, dozens of smaller vessels moved in precise patterns. "We're being scanned," Security Chief Lopes announced, her hand instinctively moving toward the weapons console. "Stand down," Chen ordered. "Open all frequencies. Let them know we're here to help." Before Paddle could comply, the view screen changed. The being that appeared was unlike anything they had expected. Its body seemed composed of translucent tissues, through which multicolored fluids pulsed rhythmically. 6 appendages extended from a central mass, and what appeared to be 3 eyes arranged in a triangle regarded them with obvious surprise. "Unknown vessel," the creature spoke, its words somehow translated directly into their minds. "You are not of the Confederation. State your purpose." Chen stood tall. "I am Captain Maya Chen of the Earth Alliance vessel Artemis. We received your distress signal and came to render assistance." The alien's tissues pulsed more rapidly. "Earth, the isolation world, the death world." Chen exchanged puzzled glances with her officers. "We received a distress call. If you need help, we're here to provide it." The alien seemed to confer with others off-screen, its movements agitated. Finally, it turned back to them. "Captain of Earth, you and a small delegation are invited aboard Nexus Station. Prepare yourselves for environment protocols. Your world's natural conditions would be fatal to most Confederation species." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. "Death world," Lopes repeated. Did it just call Earth a death world? Chen's expression hardened with determination. "Apparently, we have a reputation we weren't aware of. Let's go find out what it means." The shuttle journey to Nexus Station gave them their first close look at alien vessels. Sleek and organic in design, They moved with graceful precision through the vacuum of space. The Artemis, with its angular human engineering, felt suddenly primitive by comparison. As they approached the docking bay, Chen studied her awaiting. Commander Jackson, Dr. Emilia Rodriguez, their Chief Medical Officer, Security Chief Lopes, and Science Officer Wei. All veterans, all the best Earth had to offer. Whatever happens in there, Chen said quietly, remember that we represent all of humanity. This is the first contact we've been preparing for. The shuttle docked with a gentle shudder. When the airlock cycled open, they were met not by the translucent being from the transmission, but by mechanical drones that scanned them thoroughly. Atmosphere composition confirmed. Gravity compensation active. Deathworlder containment protocols engaged, announced a synthesized voice. They were led through corridors where transparent barriers suddenly materialized as they approached, separating them from the station's regular occupants. Chen noticed how the aliens they passed recoiled, some retreating entirely from their path. Finally, they entered a large chamber where representatives of at least a dozen different species waited behind similar barriers. At the center was the translucent being who had greeted them. I am Coordinator Xiaolin of the Galactic Confederation, it communicated. Your presence is unexpected. Earth has been classified as an extreme death world for millennia. No contact was anticipated for at least another 5 centuries. Extreme death world. Dr. Rodriguez asked. Our planet is quite hospitable. A ripple of what might have been laughter passed through the assembled aliens. Your species evolved on a planet with crushing gravity, extreme temperature variations, toxic oxygen atmosphere, lethal radiation levels, and rampant microbial life. Explained another alien, this one resembling a feathered serpent. The conditions that you consider normal would kill most sentient species within minutes. Chen processed this information with growing amazement. We had no idea. We've always wondered why we hadn't encountered other intelligent life before. The Confederation maintains a non-interference policy with developing Deathworld species. Xiaolin explained. Such species tend to be unpredictable, often dangerous. Then why contact us now? Commander Jackson asked. The atmosphere in the chamber darkened perceptibly. Because we face extinction, Xiaolin answered simply. The Void Horde approaches this sector. 3 Confederation worlds have already fallen. Our defenses cannot stop them. Images appeared in the air between them. Horrifying scenes of planet-sized swarms of metallic creatures consuming everything in their path. Entire worlds reduced to barren rock within days. And you think we can help? Chen asked, watching the destruction with mounting horror. The Void Horde operates on perfect mathematical principles, explained the serpentine alien. They anticipate every defense, counter every strategy. Our predictable tactics have failed utterly. But Deathworlders, Xiaolin continued, tissues pulsing with what might have been hope. Deathworlders are anything but predictable. You evolved in chaos, survived through illogical persistence, thrive on impossibility. Chen understood now. You need chaos to fight their order. Precisely, Xiaolin confirmed. We intercepted and analyzed your vessel. Your technology is primitive compared to ours, yet designed with redundancies and fail-safes that make no logical sense to us. Your biological systems are equally baffling. Pain tolerance, adrenaline responses, cognitive flexibility under stress. These are Deathworld adaptations. Chen looked at her team, seeing the same realization dawn on their faces. What they had always taken for granted as normal human capabilities were apparently extraordinary by galactic standards. The Void Horde will reach this system in approximately 72 Earth hours, Xiaolin continued. If they take Nexus Station, 12 billion sentients across 8 inhabited worlds in this sector will die. The weight of those lives pressed down on Chen's shoulders. This wasn't just first contact anymore. This was humanity's introduction to the galaxy, defined by how they responded to this crisis. We'll need to contact Earth for reinforcements, she said finally. But the Artemis and her crew stand ready to help. A visible wave of relief passed through the alien assembly. "There is much to prepare," Shelyn said, "and much you must learn about the enemy we face." As the aliens began sharing tactical data, Chen pulled her officers close. "I know what you're all thinking," she said quietly. "We're outmatched technologically, outnumbered astronomically, and facing an enemy that has already defeated civilizations far more advanced than our own." She allowed herself a small smile. "In other words, it's a perfectly human situation." Lopes grinned back. "Just another day at the office for Deathworlders, Captain." None of them fully realized yet just how true those words would prove to be. Deathworlders unleashed. The Artemis hung in space alongside the Confederation Defense Fleet, a lone human vessel among hundreds of alien ships. From the bridge, Captain Chen watched the holographic tactical display with growing concern. The Void Horde was approaching faster than predicted, a vast cloud of metallic organisms that moved with singular purpose. "They've adapted their propulsion systems," Science Officer Wee noted. "They're learning from each encounter, becoming more efficient." Commander Jackson nodded grimly. "The Confederation said they operate on perfect mathematical principles. They're optimizing as they go." The past 48 hours had been a crash course in galactic politics, technology, and warfare. Earth had responded to their call with impressive speed, but reinforcements were still days away. The Artemis stood alone as humanity's representative. "The Confederation fleet is arranging into their standard defense formation," Lopes reported, "just as they did in the simulations." Chen frowned. The simulations had all ended the same way, with the complete destruction of the defending forces. The Void Horde analyzed patterns, predicted responses, and countered with mathematical precision. "Hail Coordinator Shelyn," Chen ordered. The translucent alien appeared on screen. "Captain Chen, we are prepared for the Horde's arrival." "With respect, Coordinator, you're prepared to lose. Your formation is predictable." "It is the most efficient arrangement based on our capabilities," Shelyn replied. Chen leaned forward. "Efficiency is exactly what the Horde expects. You called us because Deathworlders are unpredictable. Let us prove it." After a pause that felt eternal, Shelyn's tissues pulsed in agreement. "What do you propose?" The Confederation representatives watched in bewilderment as Chen outlined her plan. It violated every principle of their tactical doctrine. Deliberate inefficiency, questioned a crystalline being. Intentional chaos. This defies logic. "Exactly," Chen replied. "Logic is what the Void Horde understands. They expect you to make the mathematically optimal choice every time." She gestured to the simulation running behind her. "We need to be unpredictable, wasteful, illogical." Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward. "On Earth, we study something called evolutionary game theory. Sometimes, the most effective strategy isn't the most efficient one. It's the one your opponent can't predict." The Confederation War Council murmured among themselves, clearly uncomfortable. "Your smaller vessels will engage in what we call guerrilla tactics," Chen continued. "Hit-and-run attacks, seemingly random movements. Your larger ships will maintain a loose formation, but with deliberate weaknesses that are actually traps." "And the Artemis?" Shelyn asked. Chen smiled. "Will be the bait." As the Void Horde entered the system, the defending fleet scattered in what appeared to be panic. Ships moved in contradictory patterns, energy signatures fluctuated wildly, and communication channels filled with seemingly disorganized chatter. The Artemis powered down its main systems, appearing damaged and adrift directly in the Horde's path. "They're scanning us," Paddle reported from his station. "Let them look," Chen replied calmly. "Everyone remember the plan. We need to appear vulnerable, but not so helpless that we're not worth assimilating." The bridge crew worked with methodical precision, despite the apparent chaos of their tactics. This was the kind of thinking humans excelled at, functioning in disorder, finding patterns in randomness, and most importantly, embracing unpredictability as a strategy. The first wave of the Horde approached, metallic organisms ranging from microscopic size to massive capital ship dimensions. They moved with perfect synchronization, a hive mind of mechanical precision. They're deploying in their standard consumption pattern, Wei observed, just as the Confederation data indicated. Chen nodded. And they're ignoring the seemingly random movements of the smaller ships, focusing on what their algorithms identify as the optimal targets. The Artemis is being tagged as a priority acquisition, Lopes announced. They want our technology. Chen's smile was predatory. Good. Prepare Phase 2. The Void Horde engulfed the apparently helpless Artemis, organic metal tendrils extending to breach the hull. The moment they made contact, Chen gave the order. Now, the Artemis erupted with energy, but not from its conventional weapon systems. Instead, the ship discharged a massive electromagnetic pulse, modified with Confederation technology to specifically target the Horde's unique neural networks. Simultaneously, across the battlefield, Confederation ships that had been moving chaotically suddenly coordinated in patterns that made no tactical sense, until the effects became clear. Ships deliberately crossed paths with Horde formations, disrupting their perfect geometries. Others sacrificed optimal firing positions to target seemingly inconsequential nodes within the swarm. The Horde, for the first time in recorded history, hesitated. Their algorithmic decision-making is stuttering, Wei reported excitedly. They're trying to calculate optimal responses to our intentionally suboptimal strategies. Chen watched the tactical display as the massive swarm's movements became less synchronized. They're caught in calculation loops. Keep pushing. The Artemis's engines roared to life, the ship plunging deeper into the swarm rather than retreating. It was a move so contrary to self-preservation that the Horde couldn't process it as intentional. All hands, brace for impact, Chen ordered. Initiate Pandora Protocol. The ship's experimental shield technology inverted, creating not a barrier, but a resonance field that matched the Horde's communication frequencies. The effect was immediate. Confusion spread through the nearest Horde clusters as contradictory commands propagated through their network. This is Captain Chen to all Confederation vessels, she broadcast. Target the disrupted clusters now. The aliens, to their credit, adapted quickly to the human strategy. Ships that had never operated in such chaotic patterns began to embrace the approach, targeting weak points that emerged in the Horde's previously impenetrable formations. For 3 grueling hours, the battle raged. The Artemis took serious damage, losing artificial gravity and life support on 2 decks. But the human crew adapted, fighting in conditions that would have incapacitated most Confederation species. When a hull breach exposed a section to vacuum, Lopes and her security team continued operating in their emergency suits, manually targeting weapon systems while floating in zero gravity, blood boiling from their facial capillaries in the extreme conditions. How are they still functioning? Shaylin asked in awe, watching from the Nexus Command Center as humans worked through injuries and environmental conditions that would have killed most species instantly. Deathworlders, replied the Serpentine alien ambassador simply. This is what they evolved to do. The turning point came when the Artemis executed what Chen later called the slingshot maneuver. Critically damaged and with propulsion failing, she ordered the ship to deliberately collide with one of the largest Horde command nodes, using the remaining engine power to create a tumbling trajectory that no algorithmic prediction could anticipate. As the Artemis spun through the Horde formation, it discharged its remaining energy reserves in a seemingly random pattern that actually targeted the swarm's synchronized communication points. Cascade failure detected in Horde network, Wei shouted over the blaring alarms on the bridge. Their coordination is collapsing. The Confederation fleet, now fully embracing the human approach to chaotic tactics, pressed the advantage. Ships moved in patterns that defied efficiency but maximized the Horde's confusion. 6 hours after initial contact, the unthinkable happened. The Void Horde began to retreat. The aftermath found the Artemis being towed to Nexus Station for emergency repairs. Nearly a third of the crew had sustained injuries, but not a single human life had been lost, a fact that astonished the Confederation medical teams. "Your cellular regeneration rate is remarkable," commented an alien physician as they treated Dr. Rodriguez for radiation exposure that would have liquefied most species' internal organs. "And your continued cognitive function despite extreme trauma defies our medical understanding." In the main conference chamber, now free of the barriers that had separated humans from aliens during their first meeting, Captain Chen stood before the Confederation Council. Her uniform was torn, one arm in a makeshift sling, but her posture remained commanding. "The Void Horde has withdrawn from this sector," Shallan announced, tissues pulsing with colors that indicated profound emotion. "For the first time in recorded history, they have been defeated." Murmurs swept through the assembled representatives. "Captain Chen of Earth," Shallan continued, "the Confederation owes you and your crew a debt that cannot be measured. You have saved billions of lives." Chen nodded respectfully. "We answered a call for help. Any human would have done the same." "Perhaps," interjected the Serpentine ambassador, "that is precisely what makes Deathworlders so remarkable. Not just your physical resilience or your tactical unpredictability, but your instinct to protect others, even at great cost to yourselves." Shallan moved forward, its translucent form glowing with new intensity. "The Confederation has maintained a policy of isolation toward Deathworld species for millennia, fearing what we did not understand. Today has proven the short-sightedness of that approach." A holographic display activated, showing Earth spinning peacefully in space. "We'd formally invite Earth to join the Galactic Confederation, not as subjects or proteges, but as equals. More than equals, as teachers." Chen looked at the image of her homeworld, then at the diverse assembly of alien life forms that had so recently feared even being in the same room with humans. "We have much to learn from each other," she said simply. "Earth accepts." As the Artemis prepared to return home with the momentous news, Commander Jackson found Chen in the observation lounge, staring out at the stars. "Quite a first contact, Captain," Jackson commented. Chen smiled. "Not exactly how the training scenarios played out." "No," Jackson agreed. "I don't think anyone expected us to go from unknown species to galactic heroes in one mission." "Heroes," Chen repeated thoughtfully. "All because we evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. Because we learned to survive through unpredictability and persistence rather than perfect efficiency." Jackson laughed. "Turns out, being too stubborn to die is actually a superpower out here." Chen turned to look at the alien ships now moving peacefully alongside their own. "The Confederation fears the Void Horde will return, stronger and adapted to our tactics." "They probably will," Jackson acknowledged. "And when they do," Chen said with quiet confidence, "they'll find that humans have had thousands of years of practice at one thing above all others." "What's that, Captain?" Chen's eyes gleamed with the determination that had carried humanity from cave-dwelling primates to the stars. "Adaptation. We never play the same game twice." As if in answer, a message came through from Earth Command. The first human reinforcements had already launched, an armada of ships carrying not just soldiers and weapons, but scientists, diplomats, artists, and explorers. The universe was about to learn what happened when Deathworlders answered the call.